Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, America lost a man who devoted his life in service to our nation. Robert Mueller earned a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart serving as a Marine and risking his life in Vietnam. He led the FBI after 9/11, helping to secure our nation after the worst terrorist attack in American history. Mueller was an amazing man. A registered Republican, he was appointed and reappointed by not only Republican President George H.W. Bush, but Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. He holds an historic distinction. He is the only FBI director, other than J. Edgar Hoover, who had his tenure at the FBI extended beyond the 10-year limit by a vote of 100-0 in the United States Senate. He was given approval to serve an additional 2 years under President Obama. I worked with Robert Mueller for many years. I remember reaching out to him after 9/11 and the news that the technology available at the FBI was so ancient on the day of the attack of 9/11 that you could buy more modern and effective technology at a Radio Shack. I said to him, I am not an expert in this area in any way whatsoever, but I want to help you if I can. I want it to be a bipartisan effort, and we worked together for years. I never, ever questioned Bob Mueller's devotion to our nation or his personal integrity. How did President Donald Trump respond to news of Robert Mueller's passing? I quote the president, "Good, I'm glad he's dead." Let me repeat that. The president said, when notified of Robert Mueller's passing, "Good, I'm glad he's dead." Those reprehensible words should be condemned by every member of the committee on both sides of the aisle. Unfortunately, under Republican leadership, this committee has been complicit in the attacks on Robert Mueller, spending years spreading debunked conspiracy theories about his investigation into Russia's interference in the 2016 election. We're here today to attack another special counsel investigation led by another honorable public servant. As the title of this hearing makes clear, the majority is wasting this committee's time and resources on another baseless, partisan witch hunt. President Trump spent months attempting to unlawfully overturn his 2020 presidential election loss. It was known as the big lie. We heard it over and over again. It culminated in a deadly attack on the Capitol, which many of us lived through on January 6th. Then President Trump removed hundreds of pages of classified documents from the White House, and as a private citizen, held them at his Mar-a-Lago residence, some next to a toilet, refusing for more than a year to return these documents. Despite this unprecedented and egregious conduct, my Republican colleagues claim the Watergate level scandal is the actual investigation into Trump's brazen transgressions, not his historically dangerous action. It would have been a dereliction of duty for any prosecutor investigating the effort to overturn the 2020 election not to subpoena organizations like Turning Point USA, an organization that helped plan the so-called Stop the Steal rally that led to the January 6th deadly attack on the United States Capitol. Similarly, any prosecutor worth his salt would have subpoenaed Kash Patel, who was a material witness in the classified documents case. Patel even infamously claimed to be the sole witness of President Trump's supposed blanket declassification of classified documents. Now, if my Republican colleagues were serious about this issue, they would have called Special Counsel Jack Smith to testify under oath before this committee. The Democrats on this committee notified the chairman in October of last year, 6 months ago, that Smith was not only available to testify, he would do so under oath and answer the questions raised in this hearing. What has happened in the last 6 months? No action by the Republican leadership of this committee to bring the sole major witness of this event before the committee under oath to ask specific questions. Why? Why is this committee afraid to bring Jack Smith before it under oath? For 6 months, they have avoided it. You want to know why? They can continue these sham hearings over issues that don't exist. The majority has also refused to support committee Democrats' request to release Volume 2 of Special Counsel Smith's report, which Senator Whitehouse noted. Let me draw attention to the issues the committee should be addressing instead of this farce today. Over the past year, President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and Director of the FBI Patel have systematically dismantled the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the premier law enforcement agency in the United States, if not the world. These purges are making every American less safe. Most recently, Patel reportedly fired at least 6 agents and several other FBI personnel who'd been assigned to work related to President Trump's mishandling of classified documents. These terminations were seemingly to save face with President Trump in response to the negative press Director Patel received for his embarrassing appearance chugging beer at the Olympic Games. Several of the fired agents were reportedly part of a global counterintelligence squad, which Senator Whitehouse has referred to, particularly appropriate at a time we are at war with Iran. In other words, Director Patel's political retribution has weakened the FBI's ability to counter Iranian threats at the exact time that not only America, but certainly the men and women in uniform needed them to keep themselves safe. Watergate is the story of a president who engaged in a vast illegal conspiracy to remain in power and uses control of the levers of government to obstruct investigations into his own misconduct. Back then, the Senate stood up for the Constitution and the rule of law, exposing Nixon's corruption by investigating the serious allegations against him. Today, Senate Republicans waffle between indifference to outright celebration of President Trump's brazen misconduct, despite the real dangers it poses. We cannot continue on this course. The American people face real challenges from citizens being summarily executed for exercising their First Amendment rights, into the skyrocketing price of the cost of living under this administration. This hearing will not help a single person other than Donald Trump, and the Republican majority should do better for their constituents. A senator from Texas should know a dead horse when he sees one. This hearing is an attempt to throttle a dead horse to a gallop. There aren't enough giddy-ups in the world to accomplish that goal. I yield.